Last week, Kate appeared alongside William as they welcomed the Macrons for the much-anticipated state visit. Having missed Ascot in a cloud of controversy, all eyes were on Kate. Now, folks, I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of fashionista, but Kate wore an ensemble that was so frumpy, it looked like she had borrowed it from Camilla's wardrobe. Her jacket, structured and padded to conceal her alarming thinness. Her hair, unnervingly synthetic, as though it had been snatched from the head of a porcelain doll from the Victorian age. It was like she was trying to look youthful, but instead came off looking dowdy and old. But what was even more striking than her outfit was her behavior. Kate appeared extremely nervous and out of place, at times looking to William as if to get her cues. William, being typical William, appeared detached and tightly wound. Sensing the cameras nearby, Kate, now well versed in the arts of performing for the press, wrapped her arm around the unsuspecting William, Big Blue in plain sight, but it was not difficult to notice their estrangement. Aside from Kate's obvious attempt to perform a happy marriage for the cameras, the couple looked ancient, well beyond their years, as though their marriage had sucked every bit of youth and vitality from out of their very souls. As they boarded the carriage, William took his place, seated comfortably, oblivious to his cancer-stricken wife, who struggled to hoist herself onto her seat, seemingly preoccupied with straightening his tie. Later, as the group gathered after touring the grounds, Kate put on a performance of curtsying as if her life depended on it. As the senior royals huddled to commiserate with the Macrons, Kate cautiously approached and was pushed away by Charles. After being physically rebuffed, she retreated off to the side, then in an almost Pavlovian-like response, began curtsying yet again. Folks, this is so ingratiating. Things must have really gotten bad for Kate, not only to be treated this way, but to finally be curtsying to Camilla. Whether this was the final warning for her to be on her best behavior after bailing on Ascot or some other reason, the firm seems to be sending her a message, forcing her to behave using the most effective way they know how, financially. And I'm going to go into more detail about that a little bit later. But for now, back to the state visit. Later that evening, Kate appeared in a red gown by Givenchy and wearing a Spencer tiara, and here her emaciated condition was even more pronounced. The fabric hung loosely over her skeletal torso as she wore a fixed smile on her otherwise expressionless face, giving the impression of a mannequin festooned with all the emblems of a life exchanged for her mother's ambitions. As the host proposed a toast, with everyone still on their feet, William hastily sat back down just as the cameras caught him, resulting in a true snapshot of the man, the impatient heir, the frustrated statesman, too annoyed at not being the center of attention to feign interest for a few seconds longer. The next day, it was like a bomb had detonated. Natasha Archer, Kate's longtime assistant, announced that she was leaving in order to pursue a career in luxury consulting. And folks, it was like all hell broke loose. The press likened it to a divorce. The news was surprising, particularly due to the fact that her decision seemed rather hasty. It's not like she announced that she would be leaving in the coming weeks or months, but that she had already left, leaving observers to speculate that the parting was perhaps less than amicable. What came next seemed to confirm this. Now, folks, some of you who were following this channel in the early days of 2024, what seems like a lifetime ago now, may remember that I made a few videos about Archer and her royal photographer husband, Chris Jackson. And there was one video in particular where I mentioned that her Instagram account was private. Well, Archer, on her way out the door, left a digital version of an IED explosive device. She unprivated her Instagram account. It didn't take long for internet sleuths to get a peek into who the Princess of Wales's private assistant was peeking into. What emerged is a profile in nothing short of obsession. It seems Archer, Kate's stylist, responsible for many of her looks, all this time was following Meghan Markle fan pages, including Meghan's inner circle, from her hair colorist and makeup artist to her best friends. The internet lit up, confirming what everyone suspected all along, that Kate's fashion mood board was being ripped off from the very woman the British press and royal family had turned into an enemy of the state. The internet streets lit up with photos throughout the years of Kate wearing near identical copies of the same outfits, all while the press tried to gaslight the public about the so-called Kate effect. Now, folks, what I find most offensive about this revelation is the fact that the royal family, through the British press, has spent the better part of this decade vilifying Meghan Markle, writing pieces about her so vile that even the British Parliament had to intervene, all with the tacit approval of the royal family. But this polemic goes beyond rivalry between two women. Support for the Sussexes vis-a-vis the Waleses fall largely along racial lines. Royalists and supporters of the monarchy in general tend to be people who romanticize Britain's colonial past, reminiscing a time when Britain was conquering lands and subjugating people. They cry longingly of wishing to make Britain great again. That is to say, when the British Empire held an iron grip over its colonial subjects, from whom they extracted enormous wealth that can still be seen today in every famous landmark and manor house across the British landscape. These are the very people who invented modern racism. And Kate represents for them a heroine of sorts, symbolizing British femininity and virtue, while Meghan represents her colonial inferior. Here is Camilla letting slip what is truly in their hearts.
She was like, "Oh, I thought it was you." And I was like, "Oh, hi." So I kind of like lent out my hand to sort of greet her. She was on the row behind. And then she said, "Oh, I'm a Harry and Meghan fan, so I don't know if you'd want to shake my hand. And you blocked me on Twitter for calling you a something beginning with W."
Barclay banker, yes.
That's it. So I went, "Oh, that's a bit objectionable." And so it kind of like slightly sort of ruined the beginning of me watching this match, because I thought,
Yes.
oh God, there's hostility. I've got hostility towards me on my day off.
Yes.
And let's be honest, just for doing my job. And thought nothing more of it. And then returned home to discover that she had taken a photograph of me and then sort of put it on X with a view to kind of whip up support among her fellow Sussex squatters, which is the name we use to describe trolls who criticise people who aren't, you know, slavishly devoted to Harry and Meghan. And
make no mistake, folks, the words slavish devotion were carefully chosen. They accuse supporters of the Sussexes of being slavish, when there is Kate slavishly waiting 10 years for a proposal, slavishly curtsying as if her life depends on it, and slavishly copying Meghan's entire persona. Not only the clothes, but every mise-en-scène captured in photographs, attempting to recreate vignettes from the Sussexes' lives, hoping no one notices. The press tries to minimize Meghan, claiming she's irrelevant, that she is snubbed by everyone and has no friends, yet here is the future queen studying her every move like a Broadway understudy. Now, it's not that difficult to pinpoint the moment when Kate began to feel the pressure to step it up when Meghan entered the scene. You might recall this famous moment just months after Harry and Meghan announced their engagement, when the differences between the then Cambridges and soon-to-be Sussexes was all too clear.
It's very generous of you to say it was an idea, but actually it was going back right to the beginning when we were looking at the different ways in which we could all work with the foundation. And I suppose I'd learnt through sort of meeting some of my patronages.
Women don't need to find a voice. They have a voice. They need to feel empowered to use it, and people need to be encouraged to listen. And I think right now in the climate that we're seeing with so many campaigns, I mean, with Me Too and Time's Up, there is no better time than to really continue to shine a light on women feeling empowered and people really helping to support them.
What this moment signified for the royal family was a wake-up call. William and Kate realized that they were both under pressure to perform at a higher level or be eclipsed. William at this moment saw Meghan as a threat, not only because she contrasted so differently with his introverted wife, who, compared to Meghan, had no real accomplishments to speak of. Meghan, long before meeting Harry, had already made a name for herself on the global stage. She had already achieved financial independence, and she didn't have to wait very long for a proposal from Harry. I've spoken before in previous videos about Kate's feelings for Harry going deeper than they would have us believe. And folks, this just confirms it even more. You want Meghan? All right, I'll give you Meghan. I'll dress like her, wear my hair the way she does. I'll even pretend to do everything she does. During the interview, Harry also came off sounding more articulate and purposeful than William, who saw this as the latest missile launched by his younger brother and lifelong rival.
As family, do you ever have disagreements about things?
Oh, yes. Healthy disagreement.
Okay.
Challenging his supremacy as the heir. How dare Harry outshine him? How dare he allow this American actress to outshine his wife? I think he took it all out on Kate, pressuring her to up her game and be more like her new sister-in-law. What happened next is laid out in Harry's memoir. William and Kate deployed Operation Stop the Wedding, where he began to provoke arguments with his brother, ordering him to shave his beard, and no doubt enlisting Kate to create chaos on the eve of their wedding, when she attempted to force Meghan to change the flower girl dresses at the last minute. It was from this moment that things would never be the same. And now, Natasha Archer, who is nothing more than a paid assistant, is being thrown under the proverbial bus. Already there are several articles claiming that it was Archer behind the rift between the brothers all along. The article states, Prince Harry's alleged fallout with Kate Middleton, Princess of Wales, and Prince William reportedly happened due to Natasha Archer? According to a source, Middleton's confidant was the wall between the two brothers. The Duke and the Duchess of Sussex were reportedly relieved with the departure. She was the buffer, the blocker, the person who kept Meghan at arm's length and fed William doubts about Harry. What is this nonsense? Who are these people trying to fool with this? Do you really think the Sussexes care about Kate's assistant quitting? The British press has no sources on the Sussexes. What is clear is that they are weaving a yarn to deflect embarrassment away from the fact that through Archer, Kate has been spying on Meghan from the moment she and Harry left. And not only Kate, but perhaps William as well. And now they're trying to place all the blame on the lowly personal assistant, attempting to turn her into some sort of villain. It's no wonder Archer did what she did, exposing them for all the lies and hypocrisy. On the day Kate was allegedly discharged from the London clinic, after the press claimed she had abdominal surgery, a claim as dubious as everything else that has emerged from Kensington Palace this past year. Natasha was seen here driving in a car where she had a very nervous look on her face, as though she knew something that the public could never know. She was in such a state that she almost had a near collision with an elderly pedestrian. Then you may recall a few months right before Kate resurfaced at Trooping last year, it seemed as if William had everyone raiding her closet. Rose made that appearance wearing a hat that looked really similar to Kate's. And Natasha, well, she was wearing a watch that looked suspiciously similar to one worn by Kate. Then, immediately after Kate's resurrection, it was announced that Archer was being promoted to senior executive of something. The press now claims it was Archer that picked up Kate the day she was discharged, although it is plainly evident that there was no one with her in the vehicle. Even the reporter on the ground stated that Kate was not seen exiting the hospital. In short, Natasha holds all of Kate's secrets, and perhaps she is tired of carrying around that burden. The press also claims that she was with Kate during her secret cancer treatments. I think one reason for Archer quitting is that she was probably tired of the drama and covering for the Wales' lies. But the reason might also be a simple one. It's suspected for a while now that William has tightened the purse strings, severely restricting Kate's budget, especially after her second coming last year. Earlier this year, you may recall when Kensington Palace announced that Kate no longer wanted her fashion to be reported, followed by numerous articles pointing out Kate's repeated outfits. Archer may have gotten tired of living off of Kate's IOUs, where even the prospect of dressing the future queen, a position any young stylist would relish, was not enough to keep her on board. We know this is not the first time the royals, known for being notorious cheapskates, have been in the news. Last year, it was announced they were looking for a Welsh-speaking personal assistant, a job that only paid £20,000 a year. Never mind that William and Kate don't know a lick of Welsh. Then there was the housekeeper years ago who quit abruptly because of the incredible demands of looking after the Waleses, forced to shuttle between their several homes for a pittance of a salary. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit to find out that Archer was simply underpaid and, based on her recent actions, underappreciated. So despite the desperate efforts of the press to move on from this hilarious fiasco, the fact is the Wales have been a disappointment, and nobody knows this more than Charles. Charles is desperate to see Harry. He knows now more than ever how much the royal family lost when they lost the Sussexes. Even the press has alluded to that on more than one occasion. Besides, it's becoming harder to hide his annoyance at William, who is constantly leaking stories about his impending death and everything he plans to do when he is king. But most of all, I think he's tired of the Wales' now legendary laziness. Harry made a surprise visit to Angola this week, where he retraced the footsteps of his mother walking through the minefields of Angola for the Halo project to decommission landmines. And folks, the pictures told a story all too clear. Harry is everything the British monarchy wishes it could be, and the global statesman William wishes he was. The Queen knew it, and Charles knows it. Harry continues to show that he has a flair for service, humanitarianism, and most of all, the positive PR the firm so desperately needs right now. Folks, can you see William or Kate walking the minefields of Angola? Be honest. These are the same people who attend a sporting event and call it work. Because the truth is, the Wales have turned out to be a disaster. With all the drama that took place last year, the lies, the secrecy, the obvious attempts to cover up their broken marriage, and now the mimicry that's long been an open secret. But thanks to Natasha Archer, a secret no more. First off, I want to apologize for getting this out so late. I was battling a headache for the last 2 days or so. I didn't even get to talk about Wimbledon, but don't worry, I'll definitely be addressing that in the next video. There's a lot to talk about. I was going to try to cram it all in here, but I realized the video would end up being way too long. A couple things that just bugs me about this Archer situation is the lies, the lies, the lies. I mean, can we talk about the lies? For instance, claiming that Archer picked up Kate from the hospital when there was clearly nobody in the car. Another report claims Archer was with her the whole time during her recovery, but here's an earlier article that states that Archer was taking a break while Kate recovered, which was clearly the case when we saw William giving away all of her stuff. And now they're trying to pin the blame on this woman as if she had so much influence over William. I mean, give me a break. What does that say about Kate, that her assistant would have that much sway over her husband? They just keep giving themselves away. And I think most of all, I'm just annoyed at the lying British press. They keep covering for these people no matter what they do, expecting everybody to worship them. Anyway, I should probably get some sleep now, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next video.